Hello, my dear students. So today we are going to start our new unit, Unit 1, in which we're going to talk about magazines. So in this unit, in this lesson, we are going to read and understand a magazine article, which includes an interview. We all know what are magazines, that you can buy them about all kinds of different topics: sport, fashion, music, films, and film star, news, and TV. You can buy them with very cheap prices, and we find them everywhere. They are common. In this lesson, we have a magazine article about the start of the portrait project for school students, and at the end of the lesson we also have an interview. So let's start the um, with the first paragraph. So first of all, we have to listen for the recording. Listen with me.
Pages 8 and 9. Reading.
Do you like art, technology? Will Jones and Patsy Parker report on how these subjects meet in the Portrait Project.
City Hall was buzzing with excitement last week. More than 50 enthusiastic volunteers came for the start of a new arts and technology project for school students. Professor John Brown is running the project.
So, do you like art, technology? So, what is the connection between art and technology? So, for example, if we look at them, art is very far away from technology. So, here in this lesson, we're gonna see how Will Jones and Patsy Parker, the reporters, they are the people who wrote this report, how they are going to tell us that art and technology, how do they meet? The portrait project. The portrait means the picture, okay? City Hall was buzzing with excitement. So City Hall is a place, okay? We should agree on that. It was buzzing with excitement. So it was full with excitement last week. What happened there? More than 50 enthusiastic volunteers came for the start of a new arts and technology project. So the participants are more than 50 volunteers. They are volunteers, they are working without any benefit back. So they were very enthusiastic, they were motivated for coming for the start of the new art and technology project, which is for school students. So now we can guess who are those volunteers. They are school students. Who was running the project? Who was organizing for this project? It was Professor John Brown. Okay, so Professor Brown is running the project. He's the person who is organizing for this project. So here, repeat with me the word enthusiastic. Enthusiastic. Let's ask some questions. Answer them with me. Who are the reporters who wrote the report? Will Jones and Patsy Parker. How many volunteers participated in this project? How many volunteers? Are they 50? No, they are more than 50 volunteers. Let's move to the second paragraph. Listen again.
In the project, A Portrait of Our Town, students create a portrait of the place where they live. Professor Brown of Hampton University explained to them,
you must decide what to tell people about your town. You could tell them about buildings and places, or you could tell them about some of the people who live there. It's your chance, too, to give your own opinions. What is happening in your town now? How do you feel about it?
Okay, so let's stop here. In the project, what are they going to do in the portrait project? It is called, what does it called, first of all? A portrait of our town. So, what can students do? The students create a portrait. They created a picture of the place where they live. Of whom? Of the place where they live. So it's gonna be about their hometown, for example. Professor Brown of Hampton University, so he's coming from Hampton University, he explained to them. He explained to whom? Think about it. Here you can find the quotation marks. These quotation marks express to us, or they are telling us that Professor Brown said these words. You must decide what to tell people about your town. So the first step is deciding what you want to tell people about your town. You could tell them about what? So he's giving them now some ideas. You could tell them about buildings and places, or even about whom? About people who live there. About people who live in your town. For example, a singer, a famous person, a well-known person who lived there. So you can include it in your project. It is your chance too to give your own opinions. So, by the small sentence, he's telling us that you shouldn't only include facts about your town. No, you could tell them about also your own opinions. What is happening in your town now? What are the changes? What are the developments that are happening in your town? And how do you feel about it? For example, do you like it or you don't? What is the portrait project about? What is it about? Creating a portrait of the place where the students or where they live. Them, he explained to whom, Professor Brown? To the students or the volunteers, the participants. Mention 3 things you can include in your portrait. What are the 3 things that he suggested them to use? The buildings, places, or the people who live in your town. So, listen again.
The students were evidently motivated by the professor's questions. After the first session, there was a rush for the leaflets about the project. Groups of boys and girls began to discuss ideas. In the second session, Professor Brown talked about producing the portrait.
You can decide what to use,
He explained.
film, photography, recordings of voices, sounds and music, different kinds of writing and art. The only limit on what you can do is your own imagination.
The students are aged from 12 to 16, and they come from different schools in all parts of the town. They're going to work in groups of 4 to 6. Most students met for the first time at City Hall. They had to choose who they would like to work with.
Okay, so let's stop here. The students were evidently motivated. So it was very clear that the students were motivated. They were enthusiastic. They are waiting eagerly to answer the professor's question. So what happened after the first session? There was a rush for the leaflets about the project. So they started to share their leaflets together and to discuss ideas. In the second session, when the second session started, okay, so now we finished the first session in which he talked about the things that they should talk about. Professor Brown, now in the second session, he talked about producing the portrait. So now he is discussing a completely different idea. It's about producing or making or constructing this portrait. You can decide what to use. So now we started in the thing that they should work by their hands. He explained what are the things that they could include: film, photography, recordings of voices, sounds, and the music, different kinds of writings and art. So you see how flexible this portrait project is. So it's very flexible. He gave them so much ideas to use. The only limit on what you can do is your own imagination, or anything that comes to your mind. Anything that comes to your mind, you can use it. So the only limit is your own imagination. So use whatever you like. Those students or those participants are teenagers. Here you can see the rate of their age. So they are between 12 to 16 years old, and they come from different schools in all parts of the town. So they are not coming from from one place or from one town. They are going to work in groups of 4 to 6, and they are going to work in groups. Each group has from 4 to 6 students, and you can also choose who you would like to work with. So most students met for the first time at City Hall. City Hall is the place where they are meeting, and they had to choose who they would like to work with. So did you find this interesting? When did the students start sharing their leaflets? When did that happen? In the second session? No, after the first session. Name 3 things you can use in constructing your portrait. Oh, he gave us more than 3 things, yeah? Well, give me only 3 things. Film, photography, music. You can add recordings of voices, different kinds of writings, and art. How old are the participants in this portrait? They are from 12 to 16 years old.